Well, this sucks. Hi, this is Randy from randmockguitars, and welcome to the third episode of the Soma build. Let's jump right on in because, Houston, we have a problem. So as you can see, as I was routing out the truss rod channel, at the very end, the mount for the router kind of sort of came loose and dug really deep into the wood. And the most important thing to remember when something like this happens is always blame your tools. So, this is what I have in mind. I can use two pieces of wood and I can fill that space with either a piece of maple or a piece of wench. So what I'm thinking about doing is making a nice little thin cut of this piece of wood, putting it in there, and it's going to wind up looking like a skunk stripe. It'll make sense once I do it. I think I'm going to try it. If it fails, then I'll just pull out another neck blank and do another one. But I really don't want to waste the wood. Okay, that didn't work. But check out this wenge. Nice, huh? Actually, I could make it work, but I'm falling really behind on this build, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and move on and deal with that some other time. But first, goodbye. Hey. So back to work, and I have to say I really like this new router. What I like particularly about it is the depth stop. It works really good and it's really secure. So I mentioned that I'm falling a little bit behind on the timeline for this build. And there's no customer receiving this at the end of the day, so there is no deadline, so to speak. But I do have an agreement with a YouTuber by the name of Andre Flood, and I'll link to his channel down below. And he's going to do a bit of a review of the guitar. And while I'm not at a point where I think I'm ready necessarily for sending out my guitars for YouTube video reviews, Andre just has an amazing eye, and if you're a luthier, you should really sub to his channel. He's got such insightful points about guitars. And so I'm looking forward to his feedback. And, you know, the only way you're going to get better is to get objective feedback on what you do. And so I'm looking forward to what he has to say. I'm also really excited about getting started on the Great Guitar Build-Off of 23. The guitar that I have in mind is one that I've been thinking about for well over 2 years. It's a guitar that's really, I think will define what it is that I'm trying to achieve, and so I just can't wait to see that guitar come to life. So I'm really looking forward to it this year. So this is the first guitar that I'm building with a 25.5 scale length. So the last three guitars that I built, one was a multi-scale, one was an 8-string baritone scale guitar, and the other one was a guitar that actually had a 26.5-inch scale length. So it's been a while since I've done a standard scale length. This is going to be a really nice fretboard. So I had to make a quick trip back to the body in order to route out the neck pocket, and I think it's pretty much confirmed that I'm really liking this new router. Let's just hope it lasts longer than the last three. And so with that out of the way and done, it was time to go back to the bandsaw to cut out the neck blank. So I was hoping to get the entire neck build in one video, but I'm probably going to have to split this into two, I've decided, and it's because I have another business trip I have to take, which will take me away for another week. The neck is not the part of the build that you want to rush, and I figure better safe than sorry. So what I'm doing here is making sure that the center lines of the neck and the center line of the bodies both match up. This is not a final fitting. Obviously, I still have to glue on the fretboard, and you still have to carve the neck. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to be done, but I like to be in the ballpark before I get started on anything. So here I am just trying to get it as close as possible, and we'll revisit this again when it's time to glue up. And so now we're gluing on the fretboard. I've got to say the combination of these two woods is one of my favorites. I'm going to be doing a lot of these. It's just visually very beautiful. But I am concerned about the weight. It's very easy to get neck dive with these particular woods. They're so dense. I can deal with a heavy guitar, but not an unbalanced one. So the next day with the glue dry, it's moving on to radiusing the fretboard, which is one of the more tedious jobs, but a really important one. The better job you do at keeping this fretboard as straight as possible, the better your final fretting job and everything is going to go. So a lot really hangs on this here, but it is tedious. By the way, what do you guys think of this camera perspective? I bought a mount that allows me to point straight down from the ceiling, and I like the fact that you really get to see the work this way. Let me know what you guys think, but I kind of sort of really dig it. So in one of my patented last minute change of plans improvisations, I decided that I was going to change the inlays, and I went with dots in a new pattern that I've really never done before, and just sort of came up right in that moment. I think it's interesting. I'm not really sure if I executed it perfectly here, but I kind of sort of like the idea of it, so I went with it. Yeah, you guys let me know when it's done what you guys think. But I have to say, for very basic dot inlays, I actually like the way this came out. Or better said, I like the idea of it. I think the execution can be much better. But next time I'll take my time with it. So ebony doesn't require a finish on the fretboard, and this is not meant to be a final finish. But this Rubio monocoat, I've been using it on the necks themselves because I really love the way it feels. Now this stuff is used to harden wood floors, and I find it to be extremely durable, but it's got a really nice texture to it, and it's non-toxic. So anyway, I decided to put this on the fretboard to protect it while I'm carving and I'm doing other stuff. I will eventually sand this back, and then eventually finish the entire neck. So what do you guys think of the dot pattern? I think it's pretty cool. So this guitar is going to get a slotted headstock like the one in the Great Guitar Build-Off. I'm still trying to work out the nuances and perfect the design. There's a bit of a learning curve here, but I think this is going to be pretty close. So I decided to laminate some of the curly maple onto the back of the headstock before I cut out the center piece of it. And so I cut these two pieces in half, and I think the figuring is really nice on it. I think it's going to look really cool. So I keep meaning to do a video doing a deep dive into these headstocks. Besides the fact that they're actually visually appealing, to me at least, there's some really key advantages to these slotted headstocks that I think most people aren't really aware of, or maybe people haven't put much thought into it. I'd like to see more people throw their hands at it, because I think there's a lot of really creative people out there, and I'd love to see what they do with the idea. But there's actually a lot of benefits to doing a headstock this way that I think are not apparent in the beginning when you first kind of sort of see them. I think they kind of sort of, the assumption is that it's being done for the look of it. But I think there's actually a lot of benefits to the builder and to the player. So I'll be discussing that in the video. Hopefully I'll get that done when I get back from my trip as I finish up this fretboard. And this right here is actually the most important part and the most nuanced part that I have to work out. The angle at which the tuners lay once they're meeting the string is actually the most difficult part to get right. So hopefully I think this particular angle that I'm using with right now is going to be a little bit better. There was no problem with the one from the Great Guitar Build-Off. It functions just fine, but I think it's the more perpendicular those tuner holes or the tuners are to the strings themselves, I think the better tuning stability I'm going to get out of it. So I want to dial this in perfectly eventually, and I'm hoping that this is the right angle. So Mick over at Mick D Guitars, who you guys ought to check out because he's a really fantastic guy and a great builder, was talking about how difficult it can be to drill these larger holes and to keep the bit from wandering. And he is so right. Every time I do this, I'm so stressed out. But I think this came out okay for me. It's pretty well aligned. And so I'm going to leave it here. And this is a kind of bit of a preview of both of these things together. There's still a lot of carving to do, the fretting. But I like where we're at so far. And anyway, thanks for watching and peace out.